The game you love or the game that you want to get into is now discontinued or out of production, as the industrial term goes. So you can't pick up the product as easily as you could before. Should you stop playing the game at that point when it is no longer around? Hello everyone, I'm the Board Game Fanatic, and today we're going to be discussing discontinued games and why you should or shouldn't stop playing them. And there will be a few things to cover in this video, varying aspects around this topic. But I'm going to be speaking from experience because I have games in my collection that are discontinued. And we'll go over my thoughts about why you should or shouldn't stop playing these titles. So why do games get discontinued? You've really got to look at this from the point of view of the creator, the designer, the manufacturer, whoever is behind creating the game. And there will be solid reasons why they bring a game to a conclusion and discontinue it from any further production. And there is a myriad of good reasoning behind such choices. Maybe it's a lack of interest in the game and the system, and sales are down for that particular product, that particular line. Maybe they've reached the end of the creativity for that said product. Maybe they don't have anything else they need to make for the game. Maybe it is a complete game and it doesn't need anything else. Maybe the company is in financial trouble and they can't afford to continue to produce the game. Maybe there is a lack of interest from the customer, or maybe they're going to move on to a second edition of the game and advance the system onto the next stage. Whatever the case, discontinuing products and games and lines is not a new concept. It's been happening for a long time. But the main aim of this video is to really answer the question: the game system that you enjoy, or the game that you enjoy playing, has come to an end and there won't be any more product for it. So at this point, should you stop playing that title? Well, my first question to you will be, do you enjoy playing the game? If so, for them to discontinue the line and stop producing more product for it doesn't stop your or prevent your ability to continue to play said product. There is no reasoning why you cannot continue to get it to the table and get enjoyment out of something that you have already purchased. You don't need to watch a movie that comes out only in the year that it is released. You can still watch that movie 10, 15, 20, 30 years later. I myself am a fan of the Predator movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, which came out in 1987, the year before I was born. And I still enjoy putting that movie on today. And that is a testament to the fact that you can still enjoy media in all its forms decades later. And the same principle is there for the games. The games come out and you can play them that year. You can play them 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. If you enjoy them that much, there is no reasoning why you should stop playing the game. Now, there are deeper concepts and aspects to this that are relevant. Maybe you're someone who's into the competitive side, who's really invested in going to events and playing against people. In that case, with your game being discontinued, there's going to be good reasons why you should probably stop playing. Does that mean you should stop playing in your casual setting? That's an entirely different matter. But from the competitive side, I understand those points. So we're going to go through all of these different aspects and talk about them, and I'll give you my opinion at the end about whether you should continue to play games that have reached the end of their lifespan. So why would people want to stop playing a game when it's discontinued? And there's a few good reasons behind this. As I mentioned before, the competitive scene is quite big, and obviously people will be denied the enjoyment that they would ordinarily get out of a lively, active and in production games line that will be regularly supported with new product, new rules, new lines, and will keep them engaged and give them a constant influx of new opponents. So if you're into the competitive scene, the discontinuation of a product can really bring to an end the amount of enjoyment you get out of that particular game. If you're just playing it with casual friends, family, etc., and I don't particularly see a good reason why you should stop playing the game. Yes, of course, there's the lack of excitement and anticipation from upcoming new releases constantly coming to keep the game fresh and enjoyable and provide you a bit of anticipation for what's coming next. But if you're playing in a social setting less than a competitive setting, there's no reason why you cannot continue to enjoy the game and get it out regularly. I know you may feel a little underwhelmed, obviously understanding that a game that you are enjoying, that you like to get out, has come to its end and won't be getting any new product. They won't be releasing any new content, additional scenarios, additional rules updates for the game, so it won't be supported any further. That is a heart-wrenching thing. And I personally have gone through this myself, where there's games that I love that have come to their ultimate end and have been discontinued. Of course, maybe you are someone who is always excited to get the new content for the game, and knowing that there's nothing else coming up for the game kills your enjoyment in it, and that's perfectly reasonable and perfectly understandable. Not everyone wants to spend money every time a release comes out, but some people do live for that thrill, that enjoyment, that excitement, and they love to play a game that's actively supported, and knowing that that isn't the case anymore can obviously turn people off, and I understand that. So why do I feel that this is an important thing to discuss? Well, because a game has ended, it doesn't mean that you can't get enjoyment from it. You can still get enjoyment, entertainment and fun out of a game even though it's no longer active and supported. You can still get it to the table and play games of it. You can still go and have adventures, battle each other out, and do all of the normal things that you would do when you played the game while it was active. There's no reason why you should stop enjoying something. So, let's go through the different scenarios. Let's assume you're a competitive player. And this is going to be a big scene for a lot of people, really. Obviously, when you're a competitive player, you're going to tournaments, you're playing against other people, you're constantly into the meta, the story, the universe, whatever it is, the setting, and you're involved in the constant updates, the new releases, the new rules. Especially if it's a miniatures game, this will be very relevant. So, to have your game come to an end and become out of production can be very disheartening to people, and it will absolutely push people to other systems and other rule sets and push them away from the product because they're not supported, because there's nothing else to look forward to, because everything's already been released and they've experienced everything in the game already. And from the competitive side, I completely understand why people would be disenfranchised and lose interest in the titles and move to something else. That's a perfectly reasonable scenario, and I get that. Especially if they're particularly interested in competing against other players in tournaments and things like that. When the game is discontinued, there's going to be a lot less of said games and championships for you to enter for a title that is no longer around. So you probably by that point experienced as much as the game can give you from that perspective. So my advice to a competitive gamer would be, if there's no active community, if there's no active support, no events, no tournaments, no player base that is heavily invested in the game that you have currently that you want to play, then of course you're probably at the point where you want to move on to a new system and explore something new, something that is currently available in retail, that you can buy, that you can get invested in and can enter competitions for. So for a competitive person, my advice would be, you can stop playing the game. You've obviously got out of it exactly what you wanted, and there's probably not going to be much more in the game system itself for you as a competitive player to get out of it. However, if you enjoy the game in a more casual setting, if you enjoy playing it with your family, your friends, and anyone else, just at the home environment, or just when you go to cons, play with people that you know, there's no reason why you cannot get the game out over and over again. There's no reason why you should stop playing it. If everybody enjoys it, keep getting it to the table. It's there to give you as much enjoyment as you can get out of it, and you may as well maximise that. Sure enough, you can get rid of it and move on to the next thing. And if there's a lack of interest from everyone in your group, then I completely understand that. But if everybody still loves the game, get it to the table. Just because the game isn't active doesn't mean you can't play it, and doesn't mean you can't get out of it more enjoyment and more memories. If you fall into the latter camp, that would be my advice, and that is the advice that I have for myself. I have games in my collection that are no longer active, and one prime example is Star Trek Attack Wing. I love Star Trek, the TV show, and Star Trek Attack Wing was a perfect formula for me for controlling and leading huge fleets of ships in huge space battles, and essentially it's a similar kind of system to X-Wing, and X-Wing was an extraordinarily popular title, and there is nothing wrong with the game system at all. It's fantastic, but over the years it has dwindled away, and I believe it's now at the point where it is essentially discontinued. But nevertheless, when I get that game out and get it to the table and I get to play it, I get just as much enjoyment out of playing it as the first time I got it out, and my family get just as much enjoyment out of playing it as I do. We have memories of attacking each other, blowing each other up, playing huge fleet battles, and I'm not going to stop playing it. Just because the game isn't made anymore, I'm not going to stop playing it. I'm going to continue to get as much entertainment value out of it that I can, which is the same advice that I advise to other people who are playing games casually. So to put the money where the mouth is, I'm going to prove to you that I have a collection of games that are long out of production. Some are harder to get than others. I have card games, CCGs, that are years out of date. I have miniatures games that have come to an end. Then there's board games galore, some that go back since before I was born, and I enjoy all of these games and they still remain in my collection. They still get brought to the table every so often. So I do still play games that people can't find easily. And that brings it to the end of today's episode. In conclusion, if you are a competitive gamer, then of course it's probably more advisable to move on to a new system when your games become redundant, so that you can continue to interact with the community around you and enter events and stay up to date, because obviously when a line ends, that support is gone, the community dwindles and diminishes. Of course, this is not a rule of thumb. Not all games end immediately once a company has discontinued them. Communities continue to stay strong and events continue to occur for various titles long after the actual game system itself has been ended. So you will have to assess how popular the title is, and if you can still get out of the competitive scene what you want from the hobby. That does not mean that that game is dead and instantly no one is playing it. For those who play games in a more relaxed environment, a more casual setting, there is no reason to stop returning to titles that have given you positive experiences or that you and your group enjoy. You should go back to them, you should enjoy them, and continue to get entertainment value out of them. So, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found this topic interesting. Why don't you all share your ideas of games below where they have gone out of production and you're still playing them? They're still games that come to the table for you and your group. Let other people know what you play. Otherwise, if you enjoyed today, please hit the subscribe, hit the like, and I'll see you in future videos.